Me too.
Or
Mm,
Jeannie, if you'd like to call the hearing to
Sure.
order.
I'm calling this Back Bay Architectural Commission Violations Committee public meeting to order at 4:30 p.m. on March 12th, 2025. You can participate in this hearing by going to our Zoom meeting link in our agenda posted online at https://www.boston.gov/public-notices/16357-261 or by calling 301-715-8592 and entering ID 984-7435-1438 #. You can also submit written comments or questions to backbayac@boston.gov. In accordance with the Commonwealth of Massachusetts Executive Order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, we are conducting this hearing online. To ensure public access to the deliberations of the Back Bay Architectural Commission, the public may access this call through telephone and video conferencing. Members of the public will have an opportunity to ask questions and provide public comment on applications and discussions. To do so, please raise your hand in the application via the Zoom meeting platform. If you are calling in and cannot use a platform, you can press *9 to raise your hand, or you can send your questions to staff via email at backbayac@boston.gov. Public comment will be limited to 2 minutes per person and should be focused on a project's exterior architectural features, which include landscaping. Issues related to use, street traffic, and noise are outside of the commission's purview. Okay, and I think our first violation is 200 Beacon Street. Is there anyone here from 200 Beacon Street?
Like maybe Joanna Berry. Joanna, you can unmute yourself. Are you from 200 Beacon Street?
Yes, I am.
Great.
I wasn't able to unmute when you were asking before
Sure. I'll just
so
make you a co-host. Hold on a minute.
okay, I'm the property manager and Teresa Coaster is a unit owner. It's a condo building and she's also
Wait, let me find.
is
There
also
she
on
is.
the Zoom.
Okay.
So I guess you put in an unapproved planter in the front of the building without submitting it to the commission?
It's not fixed, so we weren't aware that it had to be submitted.
Sure. And
It's
here I'll just show
movable.
you all, just so you can all see. Here is the planter, and I believe it was installed probably sometime last year.
In the fall.
In the fall. Okay. And here's another view of it. Here's what it had looked like. My toolbar. Or if you can see that, it was just a simple curb that still remains with some low growing shrubs.
And those
And
shrubs had all died off. So there was nothing in the area, and the ground's not very deep. So it's very hard to get anything to grow and live in that very narrow bed.
okay, and just here's the historic image, so you can see there was a cast iron or iron fence around it. I did include the design guidelines for the subcommittee regarding landscaping, front yard, historical front yard configuration shall not be altered. Where previous renovation has altered the traditional alignment, restoration is encouraged. Extensive excavation of front yards is inappropriate. Landscaping plans should be reviewed by the commission. Appropriate ground covers for front yards include grass, vines, or low-growing plants. Clipped formal hedges and ornamental iron fences are appropriate edge treatments. The planting of flowering trees in front yards is encouraged. Trees should be dwarf varieties, limited in size to 15 to 20 feet at maturity. It does have a section about planter boxes, which are for window planters. So the seasonal installation of window planter boxes on front and rear elevations is encouraged. Where window grills are desired, curved grills may be installed. So, again, it's a very substantial planter, and it really does have an impact on the streetscape and, really creates a barrier between the sidewalk and the building that just doesn't exist anywhere in the district. So I know Joanna or Teresa, is there anything more you want to say?
Yes, this is Teresa Coster. I was finally able to join the discussion. And, as Joanna, mentioned is that all of the plants there died. They were not being able to survive for it. We wanted to create something that we could add some greenery back to the space, but also to help the unit below. We have a garden unit that had sort of very limited privacy. A lot of people would stop with their dogs and different things. And we just felt that this was the best approach to have something, again, that was non-permanent, to be able to add greenery and create a little bit of a barrier for that lower unit.
So when you say it's non-permanent, what is this made out of?
Fiberglass, and it really literally sits on top of, there are sort of rocks that are below it, just so that, kind of takes it was dead dirt, brown dirt before. We put some black sea rocks, I guess, in there, and it just sits on that. That's all it does.
And had you consulted with a plant expert as to what you could plant in the original box?
Yes. So basically, what we worked with a gardening company that does a lot of units in the Back Bay, and working with their guidance, being able to come up with, plants that could live in the planter that were previously dying in the ground.
No, I'm talking about the original. Did you try and get some help to find something that would work with the original structure?
Yeah, so the original structure, we've been in the house at the Brownstone for about 14 years. So those plants were put in before us for it. And if you really look at those plants that were there, they were sort of a mixture of different plants. As you can see, there are different sizes for it. So I don't know how long ago this picture was taken, but if you look at the last 2 years, all of the plants there were in the process of dying. And in fact, we have some boxwoods see the boxwoods behind along the railing of the staircase are actually new boxwoods because the other ones died.
Teresa, I think what Jeannie is trying to ask you is, did you consult with the landscaper and try and figure out what you could replace those dead plants with?
Yes.
Prior to building this new box?
Well, yes. And we were basically advised that because of the lack of soil and, in the ground that planter sits on, that even if we put some new plants in there, that inevitably they were going to die too. So that's when it was suggested to buy this fiberglass planter that would allow for enough soil, to be able to have those boxwoods in there.
Well, I think it's pretty clear what needs to be done here. The planter needs to be removed, and the curb that you built it up on needs to be removed. And then you've got to restore the front garden to the way it was. I mean, there are plenty of boxwoods all over Back Bay that are surviving, especially on that side of Beacon Street. So you could probably just transplant those plants that you have in a planter back into the original garden, and remove the planter, remove the berm, and we'll be able to drop the violation. Until then, it's going to remain on the books.
Actually, we did not build up the curb. That is the existing curb that was there. We literally just put rocks in the dirt space and put the planter on top of that.
So you just have to remove the planter.
Yeah.
There's no other solution to this other than removing the planter.
No, I agree.
And, I would say, I mean, there is potential to do a fence here. I mean, I think in the future, if you'd want to do a fence, that would be appropriate, and we'd be happy to work with you, on a staff level to identify that. So, Genia, should I open it up to public comment now?
Sure.
Okay.
Members of the public will now have an opportunity to ask questions and provide public comment on applications and discussions. To do so, please raise your hand in the application via the Zoom meeting platform. If you are calling in and cannot use the platform, you can press *9 to raise your hand, or you can send your questions to staff via email at backbayac@boston.gov. Public comment will be limited to 2 minutes per person and should be focused on a project's exterior architectural features, which include landscaping. Issues related to use, street traffic, and noise are outside of the commission's purview. I think Sue has her hand raised.
Yep. Sue Prindle, would you like to make your comment?
Yeah, I had a couple of thoughts. I can see that just taking the box off isn't going to do it because it won't give you enough depth to plant anything. There might be room in the area where the bricks are down below the planter. If you excavated that all out, you might have enough soil so you could plant there. And I would encourage you to talk to the Garden Club of Back Bay, and they would probably give you some advice. I would also encourage you to talk to whatever landscape group you talk to and say that they need to be cognizant that the Back Bay Architectural Commission has purview over plantings in the Back Bay, certainly sizable plantings and additions such as this. So we would love to be helpful. I know it was a bit of a shock, and I hope that we can get this all worked out. Thank you.
So I'm not seeing any other comments. So, Jeannie, do you want to ask for a motion?
Yeah, Rob, do you want to make a motion?
Well, I don't know what the applicant's intention is. Joanna, are you going to remove the planter?
We'd love to find a solution that allows us to have a planter, to be totally frank.
All right, well, you can work with the Garden Club of the Back Bay. You could potentially put a planter on the other side of a cast iron fence. You'd need to work with the Garden Club of the Back Bay because any hardscape has to be approved by the Architectural Commission as well. So I encourage you to take Sue's advice and work with the Garden Club to come up with a amicable solution. But clearly, the planter has to be removed in the interim.
Is there a time frame? Is there a financial violation that we're going to be fine that we're going to be assessed? How soon does this have to come out?
I would say within 30 days. The time frame is immediate.
Okay.
Their potential for fines is possible. But if you give us a reasonable time frame to remedy this situation, we'll try and work with it. How much time do you need?
We need more than 30 days. We're not actually in Massachusetts right now.
Okay. How much time do you need?
Well, the removal doesn't take any time. I mean, you can just, coming up with a new application.
Right.
That's up to you, how much time you want to take to you'll need to make an application.
There's the removal. There's also, what do we do with these boxwoods here? If we're going to have a conversation with Sue at the Garden Club, I think we need a little bit of time to have that conversation.
So if we give you 90 days, would that be sufficient?
I think 90 days is reasonable.
Okay.
Thank you.
Rob, I don't think it should be 90 days to remove the thing. I mean, I don't think it should be able to sit there that long.
Well, we would like to repurpose the plants. So until we have a plan as to where they can be replanted or how to repurpose them so they don't die, we'd rather keep them alive.
Right.
Now's the time to do it, in the spring.
Yeah.
I think 60 days is sufficient for something like this
Okay.
myself, but
Teresa, 60 days sufficient?
I'm requesting the 90.
Okay. Why don't we split the difference and call it 75 days?
all right.
All right. I'll make a motion to continue the violation for 75 days.
I'll second that.
Great. Gina Dimitriadis,
Yes.
David Sampson,
Yes.
and Rob Weintraub.
Yes.
All right. Great. Thank you. And Joanna and Teresa, I'm happy to give you the contact information for the Garden Club, if that would be helpful.
That would be. Do you want me to shoot you an email?
Yeah,
Joe?
you can send me an email to backbayac@boston.gov.
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
I'll send that right now. Thank you very much.
Thank
Excuse
you.
me, Joe.
Mhm.
I have a telephone message that Lori Thomas was trying to comment and she couldn't make her raise hand function work. So I don't know whether it is still relevant, but you might see if you could recognize her.
No, it's too late.
No.
But
Okay,
she's
she can email me. I'll be happy
Okay,
to put
great.
her in touch
The
with.
applicant's gonna contact the garden club, so she can,
Great.
hopefully Lori can help her with the situation.
Good.
Thanks.
Thank
Tom.
you.
Okay, so our next violation is 36, Gloucester Street, unapproved installation of mechanical equipment at the rear elevation. Is there anyone here from 36 Gloucester Street?
You could raise your hand. Just give them a minute here.
Did you talk to them beforehand, Joe, or no?
No. Okay, again, anyone here for 36 Gloucester Street? Raise your hand.
Says George
See.
raised his hand.
Yeah, let's find him. Here we go. Yes, George, are you here for representing 36 Gloucester Street?
Yes, I am. I apologize. I had trouble raising my hand on this here.
Great. Okay, I will make you a co-host. And I'll just walk the commissioners through the violation, which is at the rear elevation, unapproved installation of mechanical equipment. And this property is at the corner of Newbury Street and Gloucester Street. And this is, I believe, 2022 image of the building. Let me just see here. This was from Google Street View. Yeah, 2022, where you can see there was mechanical equipment back in this location, but clearly additional equipment you can see has recently been added at the rear, which is quite visible from Newbury Street. And I do not see any evidence of a building permit for this work, or certainly it didn't come to the Back Bay Architectural Commission. So George, do you want to let us know what happened?
Yes, hi. So this was an emergency repair. We didn't want to replace our it's a makeup air system actually. So we just replaced. It was an emergency repair of the makeup air system that was originally there when I leased the location. It was causing a real hazard. It was really stressing out our hood. Our hood wasn't able to make up air as fast enough because the makeup air was failing. It was causing negative pressure, increase in grease and smoke inside. It really stresses out our refrigeration in the kitchen as well. So it was a real emergency. January is not the time when we want to make any large improvements. So we didn't really even have this budgeted, but it was an emergency. And I believe it was East Coast Fire and Ventilation. I believe they pulled the welding permit. I believe they pulled the weld if welding was needed, but it was an emergency situation. And the new system is much quieter and much more efficient. The old one had been there for before cafeteria. It was a very old, loud, not efficient system. This one is state of the art, and it burns. It uses less electricity, and our air conditioning and heating, our heating actually so far has been a lot better in the restaurant, and the air quality in the kitchen as well has been a lot better for our staff.
Okay, I'll just I included in my comments to the commissioners the design guidelines in the commercial area for utility equipment. All utility equipment, condensers, vents, chases, etc., should be placed inside the building or on the ultimate roof of the building. Placing equipment in the rear yard or on the roof of an L is inappropriate. The appearance of telephone or cable equipment should be minimized. Compliance with applicable noise regulations is required. So was there at all any opportunity to locate this equipment to the roof as part of this work? And, was that explored?
This is the kitchen roof. This is the roof, and the fan was just replaced in the same exact spot that it was. In order to make it go to the roof of 36 Gloucester, would have to go through several businesses and residences, which would cause the landlord to restructure all of his units, I imagine, or run some sort of venting alongside the outside of the building, like I've seen down further. But it wasn't explored because we just really replaced the unit that was on the roof at that same space, right at the same exact space. Nothing new was created. We couldn't replace it with the old system, obviously, or something compatible. This is what they make now, and it's all that we could replace it with. We did have some greens. We plant yearly, actually 3 times a year with Winston flowers, and we had some plantings that were going to go in front of it that we had originally. But by the time this had finished, the plantings had frozen in place, and water is in them now, and now they're frozen. So when we do the planting the new spring planting in April with Winston, we were going to ask for higher, maybe something that appeals to our neighbors, because we do, provide some privacy for our neighbors as well that directly abut us, that we've been happy to accommodate. So we were going to do something there as well. We have 3 planters that go in front of it.
And it looks like this is existing right here. If you can see my cursor, that's
I'm sorry, I had to use my phone because I couldn't log
okay.
in.
All right. So, it looks like it's, that there is existing ductwork.
Yes.
And then there's the new equipment, which is, it looks like a drum and kind of a rectangular condenser unit. Or
the drum was there. The angled piece to the right is the new makeup air system.
Okay.
That's all of it right there. And yeah, that was really it. It definitely didn't want to do that in January. If anybody knows the restaurant business here on Newbury Street, especially, it was, and we had to carry our staff. We closed for 5 days. It was not in our best interest, but it ended up being in our best interest because the restaurant operates a lot better now, and it's quieter for our neighbor as well.
Joe, could you move the pointer and show me the makeup air that's been added in this L position that he's talking about? Right there.
Yeah.
Yes. Yep. And here you can see it here.
Yeah.
For all the restaurants on Newbury Street, they're on the ultimate roof. And I understand that you can't go through the units, but you could do a vent on the outside of the building and enclose it with brick, so it looks like a chimney. Joe, is that the only way to satisfy this violation, or can he put the shrubbery and the trees in front of it to hide it? Would that be sufficient?
I mean, that's another option too. I mean, I think I would say this is a unique situation because it's a roof behind this wall here. It's not as though it's a rear garden area, and all of the existing equipment was already there and this is being replaced. So, we asked the question if this could be put on the roof. I mean, we wouldn't want a situation like this.
Right.
Yeah.
No.
So I would say screening with vegetation here would be the next best option, I think, to deal with this, or to do some kind of
screen with
or
another brick
something.
wall.
I think
that's directly above the kitchen right there. So the kitchen is underneath that. Yeah, so it's not a rear patio or anything like that. The kitchen is subterranean and it's right underneath that, the equipment there.
I think I know someone that has a planter to get rid of that maybe they could use.
We have three, if you zoom in, we have
I think
three
they're gonna need
planters
bigger
there.
plants than that.
But I mean, I would say I think we'd want some substantial plantings
Absolutely.
here.
Any suggestions are more than
Yeah.
welcome. Absolutely. I'll talk to Winston Flowers and if you'd like, I can send you. They just emailed me to coordinate the April planting, and I hope you guys are all happy with our plantings. We've definitely, they've done a beautiful job over the years with us. We do spring, summer, and fall to make sure something stays out there year round. And yeah, I'm happy to work with whoever, gardening club or
Yeah, I think, George, I think you should, if you could work with the Garden Club of the Back Bay to come up with a feasible planting solution.
sure.
And then reapply to the Architectural Commission with that resolution.
Or I think you could just maybe, I mean, if you're comfortable, remand it to staff with me
Yeah.
without having them to
Yeah.
come back.
I
That would
think
just
that's fine.
move it forward faster.
So why don't we continue this for, how much time do you think you need, George?
They're coming in April. I can get a proposal from them. I'll ask for three, if that works for you guys, three different proposals that they can plant there. That's high enough. They'll probably have to come out and measure it to see how high up they have to go. I mean, they're very receptive. I can get it done if you just, I'd say maybe 2 weeks, let's say, to be safe.
Okay, so if I give you 30 days, say until mid-April?
Absolutely. Yeah, we're
Okay.
going to do the planting in April anyways. They haven't given me a date yet, but
Okay.
sure.
All right, and you'll contact the garden club to find out what would be reasonable and feasible.
Absolutely. What is there a particular person or an email that I should refer to?
Email Joe and Joe will send it over to you.
Yeah, if
Sounds
you
great.
could, yes,
Yeah.
sir, if you could email me, and the best email is backbayac@boston.gov, and then I can, work with you in the garden club in Winston on some appropriate plantings here.
Yep.
All right, so I'm ready to make a motion so we can go to public comment.
All right.
Members of the public will now have an opportunity to ask questions, provide public comment on applications and discussions. To do so, please raise your hand in the application via the Zoom meeting platform. If you are calling in and cannot use a platform, you can press *9 to raise your hand, or you can send your questions to staff via email at backbayac@boston.gov. Public comments will be limited to 2 minutes per person and should be focused on a project's exterior architectural features, which include landscaping. Issues related to use, street traffic, and noise are outside the commission's purview. I think Sue, I believe you raised your hand first.
All right, Sue Prindle, you can make your comment.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, I would encourage them to take a look in one of their options at some kind of a permanent screen that would hold the vines. I'm afraid that if they just do plantings, it will be fine in the spring and the summer and the fall and look right like this in the winter. So I think that might be an option to either a solid plantings of shrubs or some kind of a screen with a vine on it behind the plantings that Winston's doing. Thank you.
Okay, and then I think Serge has his hand up.
Serge Savard, you can make your comment.
Yeah, thank you, commissioners, good evening. Passing through the side alley for this, actually, I'm glad to hear that it's actually less noisy, because I found it still quite noisy, the makeup air unit when it's in function. But also there is a lot of other stuff that are besides that that actually that in that corridor that is just besides the property line. There is a passageway that goes from basically from Newbury all the way to the back, but there's a lot of other material that is there. And I'm curious, as they're cleaning and screening, if you could take care also of all the material that is there, so that there's a better look for that portion also that is in the sideline to the west of the property. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Serge.
Okay, so any other hands up? I don't see any others.
Nope. I think that's it.
Okay, so I think Rob, back to you for the motion, please.
My motion is to continue the violation for a period of 30 days or till April 15th.
And that,
second.
And
I
then,
was going to say that the details are remanded to
Yeah,
staff in the garden
details,
club
yeah,
too.
and any application and details remanded to staff.
I'll second.
Gina Dimitriadis,
yes,
David Sampson,
Yes.
and Rob Weintraub.
Yes.
All right, great. Thank you. So I think, Gina, you can call for a motion to adjourn.
a motion for to adjourn, please.
Second.
Oh, I think, Rob, do you want to be the first and then?
I second, yeah, that's fine.
Oh, yeah, wait, or David, do you want to?
Yes.
Okay. All right. All in favor?
Yes.
All right. Thank you. All right.
And then I think it's 5, right?
you
So we
for your
can switch
time.
over.
Right on schedule. So I will just make sure we have a quorum of commissioners. We have, let's see, Franklin Ross is here. Kathy, are you here?
She is.
Oh, good.
Yes,
Okay, you're
you
a
do have a
co-host.
quorum.
Yep. All right, Kathy, whenever you're ready, we can
All right.
start our hearing.
Thank you very much. Hi, everybody.
Hi.
I'm calling this Back Bay Architectural Commission public hearing to order at 5 p.m. on March 12, 2025. You can participate in this hearing by going to our Zoom meeting link in our agenda posted online at https://www.boston.gov public notices 163-57261 or by calling 301-715-8592 and entering ID 98474351438 hashtag. You may also submit written comments or questions to backbayac@boston.gov. In accordance with the Commonwealth of Massachusetts Executive Order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, we are conducting this hearing online. To ensure public access to the deliberations of the Back Bay Architectural Commission, the public may access this call through telephone and video conferencing. Members of the public will have an opportunity to ask questions and provide public comment on applications and discussions. To do so, please raise your hand in the application via the Zoom meeting platform. If you're calling in and cannot use the platform, you may press *9 to raise your hand, or you may send your questions to staff via email at backbayac@boston.gov. Public comment will be limited to 2 minutes per person and should be focused on a project's exterior architectural features, which include landscaping. Issues related to use, street traffic, and noise are outside of the commission's purview.
Right. So commissioners present, we have Kathy Connor, Gina Dimitriadis, Andy Champatera, Tom High, Rob Weintraub, David Sampson, and Franklin Ross. Did I miss anyone? All right, and staff present are myself, Joe Cornish, Director of Design Review for the Boston Landmarks Commission, and Sarah Lawton, Preservation Assistant.
And then I think I saw Liz, Joe. Elizabeth Sherva.
Elizabeth Sherva. Well, good. Well, we'll introduce Elizabeth Sherva. Elizabeth is our new Deputy Director of the Office of Historic Preservation and the Executive Director of the Boston Landmarks Commission. So, Liz, welcome.
Welcome, Liz.
Thanks for having me.
Great. All right.
Okay,
Okay.
we're going to go with our first application, 135 Marlborough Street. Is someone here for 135 Marlborough Street, please?
Yeah, if you could raise your hand if you're here to present. Not see them here. All right. One more call. Anyone here to present for 135 Marlborough Street?
Shall we move on to the next one?
Sure. All right.
Move
We
on to
had-
project number
Yep,
2.
go ahead.
For the sake of time, 173 Beacon Street. Is there someone here for 173 Beacon Street, please?
Yes, my name's Timothy Burke. I'm the architect for the project. I have a business address of 142 Berkeley Street in Boston.
Thank you very much, Timothy. And what we're going to do is turn it back to Joe so we can go through the staff notes, and then the floor will be yours.
Thank you.
All right.
You're
And
welcome.
Jim, is there anyone else here that will be presenting that I should make a co-host?
I believe the owner, Benjisu Onal, is coming, or Sue, but I don't see her name here on the list. There is a Susan too, but I think it's B Sue.
Ah, okay.
Yep.
I'll make them a co-host, and I will read my staff comments. Staff notes that I'm on 135 Marlborough Street. Sorry. Staff notes that 173 Beacon Street is a 5-story stone row house built in 1866 and designed by Luther Briggs Jr. Staff recommends approval, finding that the proposed deck extension is located inside the inner edges of the chimney and not visible from a public way. And I did go out to try to see a mock-up, and it's a very tight alley here, and I could not see anything. So this is the rear elevation where the deck will be extended. So Tim, I have your presentation, and you can just let me know when to move forward.
Oh, thank you very much, Joseph. Yeah, this is a view of the front of the building. It's a very elegant townhouse, and the front railing, was previously approved. It too is not visible, so that's the front elevation. And then the next drawing, I think, yeah, this shows the overall plan. On the right is the existing roof deck. There's a large skylight, gable-shaped skylight there on the right, and then there's a little stairway that comes up through with an angled roof on it. Kind of interesting. The existing deck is here on the front. It has 2 levels to accommodate the roof slope. And then on the left-hand side, in the center of the drawing, you'll see where the cursor is the proposed extension of the deck. There would be some walkable glass where there's an existing skylight. We would change that into a glass panel that's flush with the deck, and then provide them some much desired additional space. They make good use of the deck. They love it up there. I know a lot of people don't seem to use decks, but Sue and her husband do like to use the deck quite a bit. And as Joe mentioned, we've pulled that deck back to the inside face of the chimney, and the alley in the rear is quite narrow. There's no visibility of the railing. The new railing will match the existing railing design. And our goal is to have it just sort of all flow continuously as one design at the end of the day. And I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Are there any HVAC units that have to be moved as a result of this?
No, you can see in the drawing, they're all going to stay on the right-hand side there. They're sort of clustered against the party wall.
Okay, great.
And the other building comes up quite a bit higher than our building.
What type of railings are you going to use?
It's a mild steel painted black with the same design as the existing. It has sort of a double top rail and vertical half by half balusters.
I'm ready to make a motion.
Okay. Let's go to public comment. Members of the public will now have an opportunity to ask questions and provide public comment on applications and discussions. To do so, please raise your hand in the application via the Zoom meeting platform. If you're calling in and cannot use a platform, you may press *9, raise your hand, or you may send your questions to staff via email at backbayac@boston.gov. Public comment will be limited to 2 minutes per person and should be focused on a project's exterior architectural features, which includes landscaping. Issues related to use, street traffic, and noise are outside of the commission's purview. And Serge, I see you have your hand raised.
Yes, thank you, Commissioners. So Serge Savard of the Neighborhood Association of the Back Bay. I believe this project, there will be nothing that will be done on the front deck, but the front deck, in case it would be slightly modified. I think the line right now of that front deck is slightly in front of the chimneys, so that could be corrected. But I think right now it's minor, and if it's not being modified, I think it's at least not visible from the front. But if there would be a slight modification because the deck would be rebuilt in the front, that could be slightly adjusted.
Our
Thank you.
goal is to leave the front deck existing. We didn't have any plans to change the existing deck.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. I'm not seeing any other comments, Kathy.
All right, great. Then let's go back to the motion, shall we?
My motion is for approval with the proviso that the deck remain within the confines of the inner wall of the two chimneys.
Second?
Okay. Kathy Connor,
Yes.
Gina Dimitriadis,
Yes.
Andy Champatera,
Yes.
Tom High,
Yes.
Rob Weintraub,
Yes.
David Sampson,
Yes.
and Franklin Ross.
Yes.
Great, thank you.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank
Have a good
you.
night.
Thank you, Timothy.
All right, Kathy, should we leave again anyone here for 135
I think that's a
Marlborough
good
Street?
idea.
If you could raise your hand. Okay, I sent them an email, so hopefully before we get to the end, we'll hear from them. So shall we go to 124 Beacon Street?
I think that sounds like a plan. Is there anyone here for 124 Beacon Street, application 25.0584?
Yes, I'm here, Jahan Moavali. I'm the unit owner.
All right, thank you, John. And we're going to turn it back to Joe, who's going to read the staff notes, and then the floor will be yours.
Okay. Staff notes that 124 Beacon Street is a 5-story stone row house built between 1859 and 1860. The upper level of the rear elevation is a later addition. In October 2023, the Commission reviewed an application to reconstruct the exterior wall at this location and reposition the roof. After discussing the visibility of the area of the building and the design and materials of the elements of this area of the building, the Commission voted to continue the application to a future meeting, with a mock-up of the current proposal to be erected, increased in detail to be provided on the proposed materials and window selection, and alternative fenestration options to be presented. The applicant returned for an advisory review hearing on February 12, 2025. Commissioners were comfortable with the change to the roof, but felt that more work was needed to improve the design of the proposed windows. Staff met with the applicant and suggested presenting 2 options to the Commission, one with square transoms and one with arched transoms, which you'll be seeing today. Staff recommends approval of option 2, which has 4 light square transom windows. And this here, the second option was my preferred design for the windows. So I know, John, that you wanted to share your screen, so I will stop sharing so you can present your latest presentation.
Great, thank you. Is everybody able to see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. So I will just cut to the chase to respect everybody's time. Thank you again for allowing us to come back. Just to emphasize, we talked a bit about increasing the height of the rear wall and changing the pitch of the roof at the last review, and it appeared that everybody was comfortable with that. The remaining issue was how we were going to address the glazing. And again, we are focusing on the area in red on this image. Rob, I think you brought up at the last review that what we currently have, and let me see if I can pull up an existing picture for you all here of that. You can see it here is, quite an eyesore. And you mentioned that we have a unique opportunity here to, achieve what we want, but also kind of achieve something that's more aesthetic and in line with what should be there. And you encouraged us to look at surrounding design and to get some inspiration. I just included some pictures here. This sort of arch or elliptical Palladian motif seems to be quite common in the Beacon Hill and Back Bay area, although I will note there's only this arch that appears on the front facade of our building. There are no arches on the rear of our building. but trying to consider various options. We pulled these together. I had Josh draw these various options. One is adding the mutton bars to just the transoms and maintaining 4 sort of distinct transom windows and panels. The next is switching to 5, which is my preferred design. Then we have a version that adds these sort of arches on the top, and then the final is the arches plus these keystone, what would potentially be limestone elements added as well. We presented this at NAB, and everyone seemed to agree that the design without the arches was probably the best choice, and that introducing arches would kind of be inappropriate and feel a bit forced. The other comment that was made was to actually draw the ornate railing, the wrought iron railing that is on that balcony, and draw it as it exists, because we will not be touching that. And so you'll see in this revised one, I'm sorry I don't have it on all the versions, but on this one you can actually see the railing. So if we were to focus on that design, this is the 3D view. This is from the street, from Back Street. And if we zoom in from Back Street, I just have this image to emphasize that you only see the transom windows from Back Street. You do not see the sliders. The railing effectively shields or hides the glass doors altogether. So with that, it's our hope that we could find a compromise where we are able to maintain these sliders or these glass doors without mutton bars and only keep the mutton bars on the transom, which will hopefully provide the most aesthetic appeal, but also preserve the view from the unit. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Okay, any comments, commissioners?
It's definitely an improved plan over what was submitted previously. I like it. When Joe, when you said option 2, are you counting left to right?
Yes.
Yes, this one here.
Yeah, so I guess my only concern or comment would be the mutton or the mullion in between those panes of glass. Perhaps they could be thicker and resemble the thicker mullion and above in the transom. That would be my only comment. I don't know how the rest of the commission feels.
Is there a mullion in the lower glass? I didn't think there was. The mullions, I think, are just in the transoms.
Yeah, or the wood frame in between the panes of glass.
Oh, I see. Okay. Yeah, those are sliders, right?
Yes.
I think it's not showing on the plan, but they will be painted the same color as the transom. So I think that's what might be making it look a little strange here.
I want to make sure I'm looking at the right one. We were talking about the one with the 5.
This one here.
Option 2.
Yeah, the one with 5.
Yeah.
The one with 5
Yes.
and the mullion bars, yes.
Yeah, because that I agree that's the most attractive. The arches don't really make sense in this location. And my only concern, I think, would be that if we do approve this, that we make it very clear that why this is an exception, because we don't want people thinking that suddenly we're going to start approving sliders in a lot of locations. And so when the time comes, I can make one of my long motions to try to make that clear.
But we can confirm that those sliders cannot be seen from the ground. Is that correct?
That is correct, and I can show another view here. You know, in the effort to be completely transparent, I have included these photos. This is from the Esplanade, and you know, one photo from the dock essentially that's out on the Charles River. So you know, I suppose if you look there with binoculars, you might be able to to see the sliders, but certainly the line of sight from anywhere on Back Street up until Starrow Drive, those sliders are not at all visible.
That visibility, can I ask? And first of all, I'm sorry I'm late, and hi everybody. Can you please confirm that the depth of that balcony is not any more than what the existing one is? I'm just looking at this image. I just had the question whether it's a drafting situation or not, but it does look deeper in the proposed condition than in the existing one.
Yes, I can confirm that there will be absolutely no change to the balcony whatsoever. Neither the square footage is not changing. The wrought iron railing is being kept as is.
Okay, thank you. Just wanted to make sure. And this new railing would wrap around on the two sides?
The railing actually does currently wrap around on the true side on the sides. This earlier drawing did not, the one you saw just before. This earlier drawing did not include the wraparound aspect of the railing, and I asked my architect Josh specifically to add that for today, which is what you see here. This is the existing condition of the railing.
Okay, thank you.
So if you go back to the 4 options.
Yes.
It sounds like Nab and Tom and I think also Rob appreciate number 2. That you're saying that railing right there is the original?
Correct.
And the depth won't change?
Correct.
Can't see the sliders. I think it's pretty good. I personally liked the arch windows, but this still looks fabulous.
David, I also agree with you on the arch windows, but you know, it sounds like the group likes number 2.
Yeah, in either one works. Either one looked beautiful.
I don't know if it's helpful, but I can try to sort of expand this image here, which shows the whole rear facade of the building, and you can sort of see what the surrounding windows. So this is our building. This is 124 Beacon, and we're talking about up here. So this is kind of the appearance of the other windows. Two units down, you see these kind of dormers with these elliptical or arched window openings, but otherwise, you know, I was partial to the arches myself as well, but I fully recognize the idea of not introducing an element that is not existing on the rear aspect of the building.
But it is on the front of the building, you said, correct?
On the front, so this window is the front of the building, and this window is kind of the subterranean basement level on the front of the building.
So if it's on the front, it wouldn't be too much out of place if it was on the rear. Just your neighboring buildings don't have the same design.
Yes.
Tom, hi. Were those buildings built probably within a year or 2 of each other or together?
Yes, they probably were, but the rears have been so completely modified that it's almost not relevant. The only reason that I agree with Joe is it does just seem a little out of place given all the other square dimensions. Neither of these would be looking original. I mean, we're not trying to replicate something that's original. So it just seems to me that the square topped makes a little more sense, but you know, either one could work.
With the same railing, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, the main thing about this is we've got the Muntins, the 5-window configuration is symmetrical underneath the top window. And you know, I think that works well.
Yeah, I'm partial to either one of them, 2 or 3.
Any other comments?
I believe
Is it?
Tom has.
I'm ready. Yeah, I would be ready to make a motion if
okay,
we're ready at that point.
John, if you could stop sharing your screen and I will share mine so we can see our script. All right.
I don't mean to interrupt. I think Serge has his hand raised. I don't know.
Yeah, we'll get to him.
Oh, okay.
All right, thank you.
Yes,
All right.
we're going through a public hearing right now. That's
Got
what to introduce it first, John, okay?
All right, Kathy, can you see my
Alrighty.
screen?
I can see it. Thank you.
Okay.
Members of the
Well-
public will now have an opportunity to ask questions and provide public comment on applications and discussions. To do so, please raise your hand in the application via the Zoom meeting platform. If you're calling in and cannot use the platform, you may press *9 to raise your hand, or you may send your questions to staff via email at backbayac@boston.gov. Public comment will be limited to 2 minutes per person and should be focused on the project's exterior architectural features, which include landscaping. Issues related to use, street traffic, and noise are outside of the commission's purview. Now, Serge, if you'd like to say something.
Yes, thank you, Commissioner. Thank you, Kathy. First, I would like to say that we did meet with Jahan a couple of meetings, and I would like to acknowledge that the amount of effort that John and his architect has put in this project, and the amount of listening, and it's been really a good progress that we see here, and we're very pleased with the progress that has been, and especially how much it will improve this property, and this property, especially this building, has very specific configuration in the unit, and I think obviously this addition was probably not done under the purview of the commission when it was done originally, and we think that this is a significant improvement. Regarding the sliding doors, although the guidelines would not normally agree with sliding doors, we think that is in case, since the building is a very specific configuration. This is an existing condition that was probably pre-existing the condition. It was not created recently by a user, and on top of it, that these doors are completely hidden from the ground by the railing, and that is very ornate. We think that this is a reasonable compromise, and I think it's it gives the owner the chance to have a much improvement to both the interior of his property, but also to the outside look of this property. And we really appreciate the amount of effort that the owner and the architect have put on this. Thank you.
Thank you, Serge. Susan.
So Prindle, you should be able to unmute. All right. So you should be able to unmute. Try it once more.
No,
There you
sorry
go.
about that. Okay. Yeah, I just wanted to confirm that the wood surrounds as well as the mullions are all wood on the doors as well as the windows, which I think is the case, but I just wanted to get it confirmed. And then I'd like to put a plug in for the square windows because I think the simplicity of it emphasizes that railing, which is really quite lovely. And I think that's an added attribute. Thank you.
Thank you, Sue. Joe, do you see anybody else?
No other comments. I think that's it.
Then let's go back to the motion.
All right. Move that we approve the installation of 5 sliding glass doors with square Munton transoms above as presented at this hearing, with the approval of materials and colors remanded to staff for approval, and with the proviso that this approval may not be cited as a precedent for replacing, for installing sliding glass doors in other locations, but rather reflects the commission's finding that its use is appropriate in this case because they will replace existing sliding glass doors of a less appropriate design. They are located on the rear of the building facing Back Street, and they are minimally visible from Back Street.
Second.
Okay. It's Genia. Kathy Connor.
Yes.
Genia Dimitriadis.
Yes.
Andy Champatera.
Yes.
Tom High.
Yes.
Rob Weintraub.
Yes.
David Sampson. David, you still here?
Yes.
Okay. Franklin Ross.
Yes.
And Susanna Gaspar.
Yes.
Great, thank you. All right.
Thank
So
you very
thanks, John.
much.
Yep. And I believe the applicant Austin is here, I believe, for 135 Marlborough. So
Oh,
let's go
terrific.
back. And Austin, if you can raise your hand, if not, I think you may be on a telephone. And I think I see your number. So let's.
Alrighty. So we have project, an application for 25.0616, 135 Marlborough Street. Is there someone here for 135 Marlborough Street, please?
All right, Austin, are you here?
I see his phone number, Joe. It's the 617-543-0942.
All right.
Oh, not anymore.
Yeah, I don't. Well, maybe he needs to rejoin. Let's see. All right, Kathy, maybe in the meantime, do you want to do the administrative review?
Sure, I think that sounds terrific. Thank you very much. If we could get a motion to approve the administrative review, please.
Motion to approve.
Do we have a second?
Second?
All right, Kathy Connor,
Yes.
Gina Dimitriadis,
Yes.
Andy Champatera,
Yes.
Tom High,
Yes.
Rob Weintraub,
Yes.
David Sampson,
Yes.
Franklin Ross,
Yes.
and Susanna Gaspar.
Yes.
Okay, all right, I think hopefully Austin, you are. All right, can you unmute yourself?
Hello?
You should. Hi, yes, good.
Oh, great.
Oh,
Welcome.
hey guys, I have been on this since 4:45, and I have called in now 5 times, and I do not know why. But I don't. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Yes, yes. And if you
Okay.
could just hold on one moment, and if you could introduce yourself, and then I'm going to turn it over to Joe for just a moment because you've been waiting long enough.
Yep.
And he's going to go through the staff notes, and then the floor will be all yours.
Thank you. Good evening, guys. My name is Austin Roberts. I'm the owner of Austin Roberts Construction, and this is in regards to 133, 135 Marlborough Street, for a door expansion in the alley for storage.
Okay, great. Thank you, Austin. And I will read my staff comments. Staff notes that 135 Marlborough Street was built as a 4-story brick row house in 1880 and was designed by Cabot and Chandler Architects. In 1937, the building was extensively altered and converted into a 10-unit apartment house. The 1-story utilitarian addition where this proposed work will take place was likely built around that time. The commission approved replacing the roof structure on December 11th, 2024 as administrative review approval item. Staff recommends approval, finding that the proposed work is taking place at a later edition and is only minimally visible from the public way. And I'll just show you some photos. The first time I went here, I looked in the wrong spot, so it's very it's hard to find. So in this image here, this is taken in the alley, and if you see my cursor, this is the door and the 1-story addition that we're talking about. And to see the door, you really have to get onto private property. So it's this door here that the applicant would like to enlarge and install a new door with similar in design. And Austin, I believe the reason to do this is to accommodate the structure for bicycle storage. So if you want to, I don't know if you can see the screen, but if you just want to give us a brief description of what you're proposing here. Oh no, did we lose him again? All right, let's give him a minute to rejoin us here. Okay, here he comes.
Is he back?
Yes,
Joe?
yep.
Oh,
Yep,
okay, great.
yeah,
That's
I
good.
just
That's
have,
fine.
I just have to find him
Okay,
to. All right, Austin, you should be able to unmute yourself.
Oh, I do not know what is going on here. So yes, in order to get bikes back, you have this small walkway to get back to the storage room. Currently, the storage door or the bike room door is 24 inches wide. We would like to enlarge it to a 32 or a 34-inch door. The height will stay the same. The door style will stay the same as we had already submitted and approved. It will be black. We are just trying to expand it so you can actually walk through with a bike.
All right,
That's it?
that's it. I'm ready to make a motion.
Okay, before we lose them, all right.
Yeah, before I lose it.
All right.
I don't know
All
what's
right.
going on. I'm sorry, guys.
No
Okay.
problem.
Members of the public will now have an opportunity to ask questions and provide public comment on applications and discussions. To do so, please raise your hand in the application via Zoom meeting platform. If you're calling in and cannot use a platform, you may press *9 to raise your hand, or you may send your questions to staff via email at backbayac@boston.gov. Public comment will be limited to 2 minutes per person and should be focused on a project's exterior architectural features, which includes landscaping. Issues related to use, street traffic, and noise are outside of the commission's purview. And Serge, I see you have your hand raised.
Yes, we did, the committee of NAB did some research, and we believe that looking at the insurance map from the period, it only appears that this extension appeared on map 1st of 1926, which would be logical because the building next door, at the corner of Marlborough and Dartmouth, was constructed around that time frame. So that extension would have been, so it was not obviously an extension that was original from when the building was constructed in the 1880s. We think that what is proposed is in proportion of what would be and is a reasonable request, and we don't see a reason to oppose this request. Thank you.
Thank you, Serge. Are there any other hands, Joe? I don't see any from my end.
I think that's it.
All right, then let's go back to the motion.
Could I just ask one question?
Yes.
I noticed, yeah, he said that it was going to be 32 or 34 inches wide. The drawing says 36 inches wide. It doesn't make any difference to me, but I think we should know what we're approving.
We are trying, the objective from Meyer and Mario, who did the plans, was 36, and we just have to confirm for the masonry opening where it slants down, because I did not want to have to I only wanted to have to increase one side and not both, and deal with the structure. So if we can get a 36, that is ideal. So, I mean, I could let you know, we've been waiting to get approved, and
Why don't we say up to 36?
yeah, perfect. Great.
Well, 36 is code. So.
There's a beauty also that
we-
it's a brick dimension. So I think if we want to create a nice edge at both sides at the jam conditions, we would want to have a multiple of 4 inches. I mean, that's a detail, but if we are trying to protect the bricks, that might be helpful.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, then if we have to do 36, I can increase I can go 4 inches on the left and 4 inches on the right, and it will allow where the angle comes down, that will be fine. If you want 36, I can do 36.
I think your solution, Tom, up to 36 works, right?
Yeah. But my motion is for approval as submitted with the proviso that the door not exceed 36 inches in width.
I'll second that.
Great. Kathy Connor,
Yes.
Gina Dimitriadis,
Yes.
Andy Champatera,
Yes.
Tom High,
Yes.
Rob Weintraub,
Yes.
David Sampson,
Yes.
Franklin Ross,
Yes.
and Susanna Gaspar.
Yes.
Great. Okay. Thank you, Austin.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm sorry for the confusion. I'm not sure what happened, but thank you all. Have a good evening, guys.
Thank you, you too.
Okay, I think our minutes are the
Yes.
next.
Do we have a motion to approve the public hearing minutes?
Move
Motion to
approval.
approve?
Well,
I think that was Genia and Rob.
Sure.
Okay. All right. All right. Kathy Connor,
yes.
Genia Dimitriadis,
Yes.
Andy Champatera,
Abstain.
Tom High,
Yes.
Rob Weintraub,
Yes.
David Sampson,
Yes.
Franklin Ross,
Yes.
and Susanna Gaspar.
Abstain.
Abstain. Okay. Okay, great.
And what about
Um,
staff updates, Joe? What have we got?
Yeah, I mentioned that we are happy to welcome Elizabeth Sherva as our new Deputy Director of the Office of Historic Preservation, and she also serves as the Executive Director of the Boston Landmarks Commission. So Liz, welcome.
Great.
And, you know, as far as I have been told that we will be continuing the Zoom hearings. I haven't had that officially confirmed, but it's my understanding that we will be continuing with Zoom hearings beyond March. So as soon as I have a confirmation on that, I'll let everyone know.
That's terrific. As much as it would be lovely to see everyone in person, I think that the attendance and even the viewing of the documents is extremely efficient. So it seems to be working well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Great. All righty. So do we have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn. In unison.
Right.
I'll second that.
All right.
Right.
All right.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
And we'll see you next month. Enjoy the spring. It's coming to us. We'll probably be wearing shorts and tube tops for the next meeting.
Yeah, slowly but surely.
Okay.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you all.
so much.
Have a great
Bye.
evening.
Take care.
Bye-bye. Have a nice evening.
Bye.